Welcome to Asian Book Club, where we highlight Asian and Asian American authors. We are your hosts,
Jamae and Sabangan.
And I'm Stephen Park, and this is our special episode called
Did You Eat Yet?
So, in this episode, we're going to go over the books that we just read, and we're going to give them different food pairings and the different times of day that we would eat them. So, we are going to go through a book for our breakfast, a book for our lunch, snack, or
merienda,
and then one book for our dinner and a book for dessert. So far, we've had 5 books for Asian Book Club, and those 5 books are...
I Was Their American Dream by Malaka Gharib, Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste, Bodega by Hwang, Money Out Loud by Berna, Anat, and finally, Happy Birthday or Whatever by Choi.
Right. And so let's start off with breakfast, because that's usually how we start our meals. So for breakfast, I would start out with Happy Birthday or Whatever. Now, the reason I wanted to do this one is specifically because when I read this book and I think about it, I think of kimbap. Now, for kimbap, which you've had my mom's kimbap.
Yes. And for those who don't know what kimbap is, can you tell them what that is?
Yeah, so people describe it as Korean sushi, but it's not sushi.
Which is incorrect, yeah.
Right. But it's usually going to be rice rolled in nori or some kind, or seaweed.
Yes.
And it's going to have the yellow radish, spinach, carrots, egg, and usually maybe some kind of meat or fish cake or imitation crab or something just based on the household that you're from.
Some kind of protein.
Right. For me, kimbap directly makes me think of that scene where Annie was going to the mountain with her mom. And so they were going to that little rest stop, and at the rest stop is one of the things I think about. When we used to go on trips with my family, my mom would always pack kimbap in like a little container, so then we'd all have different little kimbaps to eat from. And I think the last time we went to my brother's place, which was like an hour and a half drive.
Yeah, she packed kimbap for us too.
Yeah, and she had like this little separate container for you that had the vegetarian hot dogs in it. And then the other bit is every time I go home from vacation or something, my mom will always ask me, do you want me to make breakfast for you, or do you want me to make food for the rest of the day for you? And I always say no, because I want to eat, like, I go to LA and it's some of the best food ever, so I want to go eat out. But then some mornings she'll have like kimchi jjigae, budae jjigae, doenjang. She'll just like cook it anyway.
Yeah.
And the other thing she always does is she'll make kimbap. Now, this goes back to when I was even in high school, and she would make kimbap before she left for work. So I just sit there on a Saturday morning and have a whole plate of it for myself.
Nice.
So Happy Birthday or Whatever for breakfast.
Yes.
Specifically kimbap.
Yes.
And how about you, Jamae? What are you eating for breakfast?
So for my breakfast, I'm going to have I Was Their American Dream. And the food that I'm going to pair it with is bangsilog, which in the Philippines, bangsilog is bangus, and silog, which is egg. And
hold on.
What?
You're saying it too familiar with people that know what bangsilog is. So bangus is a fish.
Yes, bangus is a fish. It's milkfish.
Yes.
And silog is eggs. And usually it's cooked sunny side up.
On top of rice.
And usually that rice is garlic rice.
Right. So there's other types of silogs. There's like tapsilog,
which is tapas. There's also longsilog, which is longanisa.
Yeah. But you're going with bangsilog.
Bangsilog, yes, because I'm reminded of the scene where Malaka talks about how people don't like the smell of fish, and they're like, ooh, what's that smell? And she's like, what? I love this. This is one of my favorite meals. So, bangsilog for breakfast.
Nice. So after breakfast, we're moving on to lunch. And for me, my lunch is going to be Little Fires Everywhere.
Oh my gosh, we got the same thing.
Wow. So for Little Fires Everywhere, I am thinking hot wings, but specifically hot wings with hot sauce from like the Hot Ones show. Like I need it to be spicy.
Apollo level spicy?
Oh yeah. I mean, deliciously spicy. So it's Apollo. It's not going to be the bomb where you just think it's disgusting. Because what happened with that book for me, for Little Fires Everywhere, was there were so many parts throughout that book where I just kept feeling irritated or it kept riling me up because of the racism or things like that. So I just felt like the whole book was a little spicy for me. And then at the end, just like when you're eating and you eat something very spicy, it's coming down the back end of the tube. It's still a little uncomfortable. It doesn't quite feel settled. So that's why I'm going with very, very spicy hot wings for Little Fires Everywhere for my lunch.
Totally. So, like I said, similar Little Fires Everywhere for my lunch. But instead, I'm having a chef salad with pepper.
Oh.
Because, yes, it is spicy, but for me, and I've mentioned this in the episodes when we talk about Little Fires Everywhere, it's all about the small details. Like, the whole thing's a salad. It's all easy to digest. But what matters is how these little ingredients come together or how you can pick them apart by themselves.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's our lunch. Then it takes us to our snack. And for me, that's where I'm stopping by my bodega.
Nice.
So at my bodega, I'm going to grab a bag of salt and vinegar chips. Now, the reason I do this is because when I look at chips, salt and vinegar chips aren't usually my first choice. Just like Bodega was for me. So especially being a poetry book, I wasn't extremely comfortable going into it. I was hesitant. I didn't know what I was really getting into. But coming out on the back end, just like when I start having my salt and vinegar chips, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Totally.
So listening to that podcast that I had mentioned, actually understanding that a poetry book doesn't have to be cover-to-cover excitement. It's just figuring out what worked for me.
Totally.
I think that was a very good, surprising little thing to chew on.
Yeah.
And not only that, but with salt and vinegar chips, there's this dissonance between salt and sour. And so I ended up really liking that combination, which is kind of like how I ended up surprisingly liking Bodega.
Nice. For my merienda or snack, I'm reading Money Out Loud because it's so easy to break down and to actually understand. And the food I'm pairing it with is pandesal, which for those of you who don't know, pandesal is like a dinner roll with light dusting of crumbs, and it translates to salt bread. So pandesal with Nutella because it's so easy to eat and you can just keep going back for more.
Nice. All right, and for our dinner, I'm going to continue on that theme and also go with Money Out Loud.
Nice.
So for me, Money Out Loud was my fun choice for dinner. So it's my breakfast for dinner choice.
Yes.
I am going to go with banana chocolate chip pancakes.
That sounds so delicious.
And so the reason I'm doing this is not only because it's fun and playful like the book was, but because it's cheap. It's low cost. So if we're thinking about banana, chocolate chip, and pancake mix, which is all going to be done at home. We're not going to go to a diner. We're not going to go out to a fancy brunch place. We're going to make this at home, grab some cheap old mix, grab banana, grab chocolate chips, and that's going to be our really easy meal.
Nice.
It's still delicious. It's still fun, but we're also saving money.
There you go. So we were the opposite. I, for dinner, chose Bodega. And the food pairing that I'm putting with it is tofu steak because it's not for everyone, but it's for me. So similarly, Bodega, like we said, is a poetry collection. And opposite of you, poetry is my jam. And tofu is my jam. So I'm going to eat it up. And I did. I definitely ate up the whole book.
Nice. All right, and so that leads us to our last meal of the day, which is Jamae's favorite meal.
Yes!
And it's going to be our dessert.
Yes.
For me, this was I Was There American Dream. So I chose this to be my last meal because it was such a light, playful read that it felt like something that was just so sweet and easily digestible. And the dessert that I'm going to choose is American Dream ice cream by Ben and Jerry's.
Wow.
I think America when I think of American Dream. When I think of Ben and Jerry's, I also just think America, sweetness, deliciousness. American Dream, for those that don't know, is a vanilla ice cream with fudge-covered waffle cone pieces. I have to get the non-dairy version or else that Little Fires Everywhere will bounce right back at me. So try not to go back to lunch. I'm going to stick with American Dream with I Was There American Dream.
Nice. For my dessert, I'm choosing Happy Birthday or Whatever, and I'm pairing it with German chocolate cake.
Wow.
Because it's decadent and it's fun and there's so many layers and it makes me dance. And I feel like the book Happy Birthday or Whatever, there was so much joy and so much laughter that it did make me want to move while reading it. Although there are deeper parts, there's also deeper, darker chocolate with German chocolate cake.
So those are the 5 books we've gone to up to this point. I think my day of eating would be very delicious and I would be very happy with it.
Same.
So if you have any opinions on whose list you'd prefer, not turning this into a competition.
But it is a competition.
So if you want to start your day off with fish, that's completely fine. But I'm going to start mine off with kimbap.
Let's go Filipinos!
But if you have any comments or if you want to join in on how you would order your book list, how can people reach out to us?
You can email us at asianbookclubpod@gmail.com, or you can DM us or write in the comments at asianbookclubpod.
You can also reach us at asianbookclubpod.com, which is going to have our bookshop with books that we've both read or books that we plan to read and recommend.
Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe so that we can keep climbing the algorithm.
Yep. Otherwise, make sure to be happy, be healthy, and go read a book.
Ingat!
Bye.